Speaking of the Wayane regime, the Wayane never ruled Ethiopia with consensus. It always relied on military and security power. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Wayane's military power was that prior to Derg's defeat or even after that, Wayane portrayed to be a major military power. But those who closely followed the pre-91 aspect, Eritrea actually had the greater and superior military force, even when the defeat of Derg that changed that regime came about. Not only this, Wayane actually now brags that even during the Eritreans' battle for freedom, that without Wayane's contribution, Eritrea would not be successfully. They cite specific examples like the Kekokab or the sixth invasion of Derg. They quell that, all that kind of propaganda they do. But the people who followed really think otherwise. What was the reason for the history of the armed struggle to get distorted like this, and alternative fact created by TPLF took hold as a major military power that decided the future of the East African continent? And also, how did TPLF got to where it is right now? And did EPLF made some miscalculation about TPLF's capabilities that made it a monster that it is now?
One of the sad things in Ethiopia is rulers have tried to live in a myth they create, and it's a repetition of history, and the record is there. We're not talking about the liberation struggle in Eritrea, how it evolved. It's a matter of recorded history for us. In fact, the fact that we have every event, it's not an exaggeration if I say every hour, every minute in the last of the 30 years of armed struggle is recorded. And to come and say, well, I was there to liberate Eritrea, I think it's shameful. It's very sad that people could degenerate into that level of deception and create a myth for their own aggrandizement and distort history. It's dishonesty in the first place. It's a manifestation of the sick mentality people have when they try to distort history, aggrandize their achievements, and underestimate and undermine the achievements of others, to portray themselves as it's a myth. In fact, if you go and look back into the history of the successive regimes in Ethiopia who have lived on myth all the time, it's sometimes 3,000 years of history. It's sometimes an achievement that was never there, and creating a perception to consolidate rule. It's not a matter of military achievement. Talking about exclusive military issues, I'd say Wayane is not even a player in any event. I mean, you can go back and look into the records of events, even at the end of the 80s, early 1991. In fact, it's the most cowardly leaders I have seen in my lifetime are these leaders of the Wayane. And for them to come and brag about their heroic achievements in the struggle of Eritrea, is a joke, in my opinion. And why would someone try to aggrandize his role, his history, in something that has never happened? I think we should be invited to discuss this issue, because we don't need new evidences to prove that Wayana was not there at all. I've lived it personally. I know not only events and situations that evolved the 80s, 90s. We started our relationship, say, in the mid-70s. Until the end of the war, where and how things evolved is there for the record. It's shameful to me to talk about that. But again, we will have to say, check. We'll have to say, well, behave, and never assume that your deception and your lies will change the course of history. That will never happen. It's not only the military. They will come and tell you, well, this is the fastest growing economy ever, double-digit growth. Now look, imagine, what are you talking about? It's a pretension when it comes to fighting terrorism, when actually they're breeding terrorism in the region, in Ethiopia and outside Ethiopia. They would brag about fighting terrorism in the region. They would portray themselves as the most powerful nation ever in the history of this region, the Horn of Africa. I mean, you can go on and on and on and talk about what these people are trying to tell generations, and I say it's typical of their nature. It's very typical of their weakness. It's typical of the way they try to impose their agenda upon others. It's based on fiction. It's based on myth. And I don't think people would take that seriously. And people need not be, led to any controversy, because no one has any right and no one can distort history of the last 50 or 30 years. It's always there. Now we can talk about the nature, the political nature of the Wayane. Why so? I mean, 1991, when they dismantled all Oromo armed groups, was it because they were strong, because they felt they were strong? They were threatened. They have always this side of a small group, a small nation, a minority of minorities, and dehumanized because of the successive history of rulers in Ethiopia, trying to impose itself or portray itself as a powerful, the most advanced in every area. And this is a very little mind, I say. The weaker and the smaller would always try to believe that they are big, they are strong. And that's how the last 25 years have been shaped in the minds of the Wayane. And I believe the Somalis know, the Tigrayans know above anything else, the Amharas know, the Oromos above everything else know the size and might of Wayane, and no one should be intimidated with this posturing of small, insignificant group trying to impose itself in spite of the reality.
Thank you, Mr. President. My next question. Those of us who believe in 1991 or the couple of years followed that, the EPLF has a stronger military and security power in the region at that moment. Therefore, people today criticize and see it as a controversial subject that Eritrea hasn't done enough to impose or force the direction of what Wayane deliberately was thinking to do thereafter for this last 25 years. Specifically with the cause of Oromo, there are a lot of Oromos who didn't get over with the negotiation arbitrated by you to bring some kind of reconciliation between the OLF and the TPLF during the heights of their confrontation. There was some military confrontation in the east and all. So at that time, when one of the proposals was to bring about 20,000 Oromo fighters to a military camp and then have the Wayane hold the security aspects of the regime. That ended up to be disarming the OLF's army, followed by the eradication and eviction of all Oromo leaders from there. So, Mr. President, for those of Oromos who think that inadvertently that impacted your arbitrary or negotiation decision created this, what would you say? The other thing, based on that, without looking further, things, many Oromos think they don't have a friend in Asmara because of that past history. How do you, assure Oromos that Eritrea is a friend of the oppressed Oromo? And also, what was the measure that Eritrea would take in the future to bring the Eritreans or Oromo and the Eritreans and overall Ethiopia's relationship from this historical?
It has to be seen within the political context. Yes, because we don't speak and we don't get into these controversies all the time. We like to keep low key and never try to explain our version of the story. But again, I would like to remind people and go, if they have ever lived those events in 1991, 1992, the political context was what is the roadmap for Ethiopia? And how should this roadmap be designed after the collapse of Mengistu and the Derg? And we had a very clear idea. It's a matter of fact that we felt Ethiopia is entering a new phase. A transition will have to be created. All organizations, big, small, weak, strong, who participated in the downfall of the Derg have made their contribution. But the question was, what about the future? What the future holds for the people of Ethiopia? And the controversy was create a broader alliance among the groups. The Oromo were a major contributor at that moment. And it was a major threat for the Wayane. Other groups, the EPRP, Mason and others were not there at all. The Ogadens may have been there, but they were not even part of the direct political process. They didn't participate in the conference that was organized in 1992. Then the question was, what is the future of the political events in Ethiopia and how should it be shaped? The question was, well, the conference was meant to address the issue of democracy. At least it's a big heading, the democracy in Ethiopia, how? We had a very consistent political position on a transition. After all these generations and distortion in history and the misrepresentation of the peoples of Ethiopia and events that led to marginalization of the majority, we'll have to go through a transition of about 10 years minimum and maybe more, but it has to create an environment conducive for a political process a participatory political process in Ethiopia, contrary to the philosophy or even conviction of the TPLF, that always felt threatened about the participation of everybody in Ethiopia, the Oromo, the Amharas, even the Tigrayans, the Somalis, everybody else. And a substitute arrangement was created by the TPLF, and that was the EPRDF. You will have an umbrella called the EPRDF, and you will create your puppet organizations representing all sorts of national groups in Ethiopia, and that would be the best way, the best option for the Wayane to manipulate the political movements of different groups in Ethiopia. Above everything else, the Oromo movement was a threat. How could it be possible for the Oromo armed units, which were more than 20,000, who, because of circumstances, their own internal circumstances, I don't want to go into the details now, but it was a mistake of the Oromo leadership in the first place. And it's not a matter of handing arms to the TPLF. That was not one of the options. It was a process that should have allowed the OLF to participate in the transition and design the program for the transition. The political context was more important than the physical military might of each and every group. The mismanagement of that arrangement on both sides, the machinations of Wayane to totally dismantle all armed Oromo groups and eliminate the threat. That was their philosophy. The threat for their survival was the Oromo armed groups, and they'll have to be disarmed. On the other hand, the leadership in the Oromo movement was not in a position to even challenge this reality. And finally, it was trying to find someone to blame, and we were blamed for our contribution. The compromise that was reached was to agree on a political program for transition. The technical arrangement of defense and security could be done separately. The establishment of a government will have to be done within the political arrangement for transition. And finally, the issue of EPRDF or participation of other groups will not be any problem. In fact, the fight was between the Oromo and the TPLF. And because there were no other armed organizations, the Amhara movement was not there, armed. They were splinter groups here and there. The Ogadens did not participate in the first place. The peoples in the south were not even represented. Many groups in the west were not represented. Finally, it became a fight between the Oromo and the TPLF. The TPLF did not represent the people in Tigray, even their aspirations. But the arrangement that should have been there developed to a situation where the machinations of the TPLF succeeded in a manner to dismantle all armed groups of the Oromo. And maybe many within the Oromo leadership also had to surrender to the pressures of the TPLF, and some had to flee Ethiopia and stay outside in diaspora. Until 1994, when the document for the future of Ethiopia was drafted. And that was the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the Constitution, which recognized the right of nations to self-determination, including and up to secession. It was fake. The program was fake. The fact that they were successful in dismantling the Oromo armed groups was a temporary achievement for not only the TPLF but for the forces that felt that the Oromo should not be there as a major actor. It's not secret to say that had it been fair representation and participation of the people in Ethiopia, then any federal democratic arrangement could have given the Oromos a bigger say in what should have happened. Unfortunately, it was the EPRDF, it was a federal democratic or so-called federal democratic arrangement, which was not accepted by us. I could brag and say I was the first to see the first draft. I said, this is going to be a disaster. It's a substitute for the transitional arrangement that should have allowed the participation of all groups in Ethiopia above every body else. The Oromos could have been represented there, but again, that was a point of contact between us and the TPLF. The TPLF had to continue with external encouragement, the support from outside to use the Wayane as an anchor to implement external agendas was another advantage. And many of the Oromo leaders had to also surrender, formally or informally, to this imposition. I said that was a big mistake on the part of the leadership of the Oromo to accept that reality. In fact, many of the prominent Oromo leaders who participated in the 1992 arrangement, when all issues were on the table, and finally they had to go into some form of an alliance with the TPLF, knowing that the agenda of the TPLF was totally to eliminate any meaningful participation on the part of the Oromo. Now, of course, yeah, many will say we were compromised. It's a matter of interpretation that would justify certain mistakes that were committed at that particular moment. The disarming of about 20,000 and maybe more armed combatants on the Oromo side was a historical mistake committed. We now see the fruits of that mistake. Wayane may have achieved something or temporarily maintained control of the politics in Ethiopia, but I would consider that as a major Wayane mistake in the political arena in Ethiopia. Who is to blame for that is irrelevant, in my opinion. We will never regret anything because our political commitment to the transition was always there, very open. We had a very frank discussion with all members of the gang in the Wayane leadership. And that's been one of our problems. We've been seen as a major threat to the politics of Ethiopia, to the politics of Wayane, or the Ethiopia of Wayane. The price we paid is prevalent. It's open for anyone to see. And our political views, our commitment to the people in Ethiopia, all the peoples, the Oromos, the Somalis, the Tigrayans, the Amharas have been there. We've never changed. We should have remained consistent in that. And we now pay the price, but I would say we've succeeded in making our point. We come back again and say Ethiopia needs to go through a transition. After 25 years now, we still hold the same views. 25 years have been wasted by Wayane for the Oromos, the Somalis, the Amharas, the Tigrayans. But the future definitely would require a vision, and that vision will have to be or take us back to 1992 and say there has to be a transition again. How? Everybody will have to be involved. that particular mistake, I can tell you, I lived it, I know the details, I know the meetings that we were holding day and night to address some of the undesirable consequences of that particular event, but Guyana's leadership was adamant to eliminate that presumed threat. It was a threat in the mind of that Sikh group, which made a serious mistake. Definitely, they're paying the price for that and other mistakes they committed the last 25 years. So the Oromos, well, they are free to make their judgment. But history can judge the people of Eritrea and the EPLF on their commitments to the struggle of the Oromo people and other peoples in Ethiopia. We have not been exclusively committed to one particular group. Because of circumstances, many would blame us of creating this monster. I have many Amhara friends who've been saying, well, you've created this monster. I remember one prominent Amhara blaming me for saying, why did you have to bring this monkey to this throne? This throne was supposed to be for lions in his own mind. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can blame me for that. It doesn't matter. But again, no one in this country, Eritrea or the EPLF, had the intention of imposing the TPLF on in spite of everybody else. Not at all. But interpretations are there. They will say, oh, the EPLF brought this monster into Ethiopia and we are to blame for that. I mean, yeah, you can have your views, you can have your way of interpreting things, but the TPLF has been there, will still be there, has not changed, will never change. Its commitment to the people of Ethiopia will remain unchanged. And we are proud of our history, of our contribution. We have made very modest contributions, but no mistakes we regret.